The impact of the vice presidential debate after the game.
It's not the losses. It's the saves. In 2 weeks, Rescue 911 returns.
They met a year ago. They battled to the final game. Last year, rookie Steve Avery stunned the Pirates in Game 6. His strength of arm, combined with his strength of spirit, silenced the Bucks. The scoreless duel would be settled in the ninth by Ron Gant's aggressive base running. He would score the game's only run. Some will remember Alejandro Peña's changeup for the final out, but most recall the eyes of sheer determination that brought the Braves back to even. Tonight, an ironic twist of fate brings a rookie to baseball center stage, Tim Wakefield. His courage does not come from strength of arm, but from a manager's belief in this 26-year-old and his own belief in the pitch. It is the magic of the knuckleball and a momentum swing that has the Pirates believing that they are poised to come back. Pittsburgh has one choice, win or go home. For Atlanta, it's win and go on. Tonight, the National League Championship Series returns to Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta, where the Braves host the Pirates in Game 6. Having fought off elimination in Game 5, Jim Leland is just happy to be back, while the Braves' Terry Pendleton hopes a good luck kiss might help him out of a slump. David Justice arrived confident in the knowledge that he hit the knuckleball hard in Game 3, but it wasn't enough. Can Tim Wakefield pull out another win? And can Tom Glavine silence those who say he doesn't win in the postseason? He'll have to deal with a rejuvenated Barry Bonds, who quieted his detractors in Game 5. The fans of Atlanta have never watched one of their teams win a world championship in a major sport. They arrive tonight knowing a Braves win will give Atlanta another shot at baseball's biggest prize. Welcome to Game 6 of the National League Championship Series from Atlanta. It was a glorious day here, and it's a perfect night for baseball. The temperature moments from game time, 70 degrees. The Braves have had a relatively stress-free ride to this point in the series. They've enjoyed leads of 2-0 and 3-1. But the Pirates won Game 5, and now tension is evident on both sides. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Atlanta. I'm Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver, and it's great to have you with us. The Atlanta Braves have reason to be anxious because they know it's possible for the visiting team to go on the road in the last 2 games of the playoffs and win both of them.
And you might think that last year was just one of those things. As a matter of fact, last year was not the exception but the rule, because in the last 10 postseason series that have gone the limit, 9 have been won by the team that won Game 6. Now that's how important tonight's game is.
And what an appealing pitching matchup. 3 months ago, very few had heard of Tim Wakefield. But after only 13 starts in the major leagues, he pitched a gem in Game 3, and now he has been hailed as the Pittsburgh savior. On the other side, you have Tom Glavine, who has won 20 games in each of the last 2 years, but he says he's pitching tonight trying to silence his critics who say he doesn't win in the postseason.
Yeah, I think his detractors talk about the first half of the season and not the second half. As a matter of fact, from April through July, over the last 2 years, Tommy Glavine is 30-8. From August through the end of the season, the last 2 years, 1 game under 500, and a paltry 1-4 in postseason play.
We'll have the first pitch of Game 6 of the NLCS from Atlanta in just a moment. The Atlanta Braves have taken the field, and you sense already in this crowd a difference from games 1 and 2, when many fans here in Atlanta criticized themselves, saying they didn't have the same kind of intensity that they had last year during the Braves' worst to first run. The lineup for Jim Leyland tonight: Gary Reedus leads off at first base, Jay Bell the shortstop, Andy Van Slyke in center field. Barry Bonds the cleanup hitter in left, Jeff King batting fifth at third base, Lloyd McClendon in right. Don Slaught is the catcher batting seventh, Jose Lean bats eighth, and the pitcher Tim Wakefield will bat ninth. And those are the averages for the Pirates in the starting lineup tonight in the NLCS.
The defense for the Atlanta Braves: Gann in left field, Otis Nixon the center fielder, and David Justice in right. Terry Pendleton at third base, Jeff Blauser at shortstop, Mark Lemke the second baseman, Sid Bream a slick fielding first baseman, and Damon Berryhill behind the plate supporting Tom Glavine.
Gary Reedus leads off. He's 5 for 11 in the series and 5 for his last 8. First pitch of the night from Tom Glavine. Well hit to left. Ron Gant, just in front of the warning track, makes the catch. With the left-hander Tom Glavine on the mound tonight, Jim Leyland has his right-handed hitting platoon lineup out there, and that's been the more effective of his two lineups in this series.
With Gary Reedus, Lloyd McClendon, and Don Slaught in the lineup.
Glavine didn't hit poorly in Game 3, but he was overshadowed by the performance of the knuckleballer Tim Wakefield, and it's a rematch tonight in Game 6. One strike into Jay Bell. Jay only 3 for 21 and 1 for his last 10. And he's hit by the pitch. The umpires working this one. Ed Montague will be the man in the spotlight again as he calls the balls and strikes with the knuckleballer Tim Wakefield on the mound. John McSherry at first, Randy Marsh at second, Steve Ripley at third, Gary Darling along the left field line, and Jerry Davis calls the plays in right. Now Andy Van Slyke digs in. He has had a hit in every game in this series except Game 2, the 13-5 blowout for Atlanta. Just underway in the top of the first, no score. The Pirates with Jay Bell at first and 1 out. And the first pitch to Van Slyke is a ball.
First time Tommy Glavine pitched, we talked about his success getting right-handers out away. He's trying to come inside to Jay Bell, and you hate to hit a hitter when you're just showing him the pitch inside to keep him from diving out over the plate. But he ends up the ball sailing a little bit, and he hit Jay Bell.
The Pirates have only one stolen base in this series. As Jim Leyland says, they are not a stolen base club, but they will hit and run when the opportunity is there again tonight. Barry Bonds has Pittsburgh's only stolen base. Bell has not attempted one. And the count on Van Slyke now 2 balls and no strikes.
Yeah, the Braves have 5 stolen bases. They have not been caught. And Pittsburgh with only 1, and they've been caught 2 times. And the knock on Damon Berryhill was his throwing before this season started. But he has done very, very well handling the pitching and defending.
Double play ball if they hurry. Lemke to Blauser. Green digs it. 4-6-3, and that ends the inning after half an inning. The Pirates nothing, and the Braves coming up.
When Eye on America looked at the war on cancer, we found out why some life-saving treatments are not always available to those who need them, and told you what to do about it. We didn't just look at the disease. We uncovered information which could help you survive. Eye on America, only on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Jay Bell realizes the importance of taking out a middle infielder on a double play ball. Watch his right knee get stuck, and he topples over. Normally, if he's trying to do that, that's one of those rolling body blocks, and the umpire at second base could call an automatic double play. But I don't think Jay got his feet out, his rear end down, and consequently got his right knee stuck in the ground. That's why he toppled over like that.
The 26-year-old rookie knuckleballer Tim Wakefield, the pride of Melbourne, Florida, ready to face this lineup for Atlanta tonight. Otis Nixon leads off in center field. Jeff Blauser at short. Terry Pendleton at third. David Justice, the cleanup hitter, in right. Sid Bream at first. Ron Gamp, the left fielder. The bottom third of the order, Damon Berryhill, Mark Lemke, and the pitcher Tom Glavine. And you're looking at what that lineup has done in this series.
The defense for the Pirates: Bonds in left, Van Slyke in center, and McClendon in right. King at third, Bell at short, Leaned at second, Gary Reedus at first, and Don Slott, who will have his hands full behind the plate using that oversized catcher's mitt.
Otis Nixon takes the first knuckleball of the night outside for ball one. Don Slott employing the oversized mitt tonight to handle the knuckleball. That's ball two, 2-0.
I think Wakefield will resort to the fastball now with Otis Nixon. We'll see if Nixon's taking.
It was a fastball and a strike. Wakefield says when he's on, he'll throw the knuckleball 90% of the time. The reason he doesn't like to throw the fastball is that last one was clocked at 81 miles per hour. Now he's back even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. We'll also remember that the reason, one of them, that Jim Leyland did not start Tim Wakefield in Game 2 here in Atlanta is he was worried about the rookie under pressure, pitching in front of a hostile crowd. Well, that's where he is tonight. But back from 2-0 to get Nixon with the knuckleball.
Interesting how Tim Wakefield holds that knuckleball, and we mentioned in Game 3 that it's most effective when it is not rolling. It has that dead spin. That ball caught in the heel of the glove by Don Slott. A very, very effective knuckler then.
Bobby Cox wasn't particularly concerned about his club's lack of success in Game 3. He felt they hit many balls hard against Wakefield. They did have a couple of near misses with home runs, particularly one off the bat at the man at the plate. Jeff Blauser, who pops it back in this direction out of play. 0-2 the count on Blauser.
I had assumed that Tim Wakefield, like most knucklers, held the knuckleball on the seams of the ball, but as you see, he holds it in the horseshoe part of the ball. The seams on the ball can actually form a horseshoe, and Tim Wakefield gripping the ball, he really grips the nails of the index finger and the middle finger into the ball, so knuckleball is a misnomer. Should be a fingertip ball.
Very high fly ball and shallow left for Barry Bonds. 2 down.
Yesterday we asked Tim Wakefield to explain exactly how he grips the ball.
Well, horseshoe is one of the seams that comes in. It's just the biggest part of the ball. It's shaped like a horseshoe, and it's easier to get my fingers in there. And X is kind of a guide. I can put my thumb on this seam on this side, and also I don't have any seams catching my ring finger. So when I do throw it, the object of it is to really let go with your thumb and ring finger and just let it guide out with your index finger and your middle finger.
That knuckleball lined into center, a base hit for Terry Pendleton. Pendleton broke an 0 for 12 drought with an infield hit his last time up in Game 5. Now he has a solid single with 2 outs in the bottom of the first. It's the first hit of the ball game.
And how weird is that? A switch hitter switch hitting right-handed against the knuckleballer. Ineffective his first time, and Terry Pendleton surprising everybody by hitting right-handed against the 55-mile-an-hour knuckleball. How about that? And the first pitch, sure enough, a rocket to center.
So Pendleton's at first with 2 down. In the bottom of the first, there is no score in Game 6 of the National League Championship Series. David Justice, the batter. 4 for 16 is Justice in the series. He has also drawn a series high 6 walks. Knocked around by Slott. He can't find it. And Pendleton is around second. He'll try for third. The throw there, not in time. Well, that's a big reason why a lot of managers are afraid to have knuckleball pitchers on their staff.
Tim Wakefield only threw 10 wild pitches. Make that 3 wild pitches this year. This will probably be a pass ball. Don Slott had 3 pass balls, or the catching staff had 3 pass balls. So only 3 wild pitches, 3 pass balls, but that one good for 2 bases against Wakefield.
Justice, big swing and a foul tip. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count.
Now the pressure really on Slott because obviously if you box one now, it's a run.
There's a lot of room in this park in foul ground along the lines, but not all that much room right behind home plate. Slott had a tough time locating the ball, and Pendleton, as you saw, never hesitated. The 1-2 pitch is high. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Justice was 1 for 4 in Game 3 against Wakefield, but he hit the ball sharply 3 out of the 4 times he came up. No score. The Braves threaten in the bottom of the first. And Wakefield steps off. Pendleton was a long way from the third base bag.
Well, that's because Jeff King, the third baseman's a long way from the bag. They're playing Justice with the shift. 3 infielders on the right side, and King has to play towards second. Pendleton getting off as far as King is.
Justice went against the shift for a base hit in Game 3 off Wakefield. He singled in the left field in the second inning off the knuckleballer. Now the 2-2 pitch. Inside and low. The count is full. Justice will be followed by Sid Bream. Routine fly to left for Barry Bonds. The Braves threaten but do not score in the first. After 1 in Atlanta, no score.
A politician shot by a lone gunman.
It wasn't a bullet. It was a BB.
And everyone screaming conspiracy.
I have my doubts about the single BB theory.
Picket fences Friday.
You may be wondering, as we were, why Terry Pendleton hit right-handed against Tim Wakefield. Well, he was hitting left-handed against Phil Niekro, the great knuckleballer, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame someday. He was frustrated as a left-handed batter, so he comes up against Tim Wakefield as a right-hander and slaps a liner to center. The only hit in this ball game. How about that?
Old Nuxie brought into pitch batting practice for the Braves before the game tonight as they prepared for the knuckleball, and they also employed Bruce Dalcanton, who was the Braves AAA pitching coach at Richmond. And a look to the Braves before the game tonight at 2 different knuckleballs. Barry Bonds looking at Tom Glavine, and quickly in the hole, 0-2. Glavine will face Bonds, King, and McClendon, the middle third of the Pirate order in the second. No score in the ball game. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bonds might have broken out of his career-long postseason slump with his 2-for-5 performance in Game 5. But as Jim Leland said before the game, 1 game does not necessarily mark the end of a struggle. But that might. Deep to right field, way back and gone. Barry Bonds on a 1-2 pitch. Homers to right center, and the Pirates take a 1-0 lead. It's the first ever postseason home run for Barry Bonds.
A fastball inside, but not for long.
And now it is almost eerily silent here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium as Bonds continues to accept the congratulations of his mates. Glavine working to Jeff King. 1 ball and 1 strike to count.
Bonds particularly conscious of that because the crowd was yelling Barry, Barry. That was a form of, you could call it verbal abuse. It certainly was not playful, but you may remember the Boston Red Sox fans back in the 1986 series, the Mets and the Red Sox, the Darryl chant trying to get on Darryl Strawberry.
King loops one into shallow left center, and that's a hit. And Jeff King picks up where he left off in Game 5. He was 3 for 4 in that ball game and 1 for 1 tonight. We mentioned at the outset, Tom Glavine yesterday at the press conference was very direct in addressing the criticism directed at him that he has not won in the postseason, only 1 in 4 lifetime in postseason play. And you wonder if the early deficit has those types of thoughts running through his head already.
During the season, he gave up 6 home runs in 225 innings, and already in this postseason, he has given up 2 in a little over 7 innings.
The other was to Don Slott in the 5th inning of Game 3 at Pittsburgh. Lloyd McClendon has provided the Bucs with a lot of offense in his limited playing time in this series. He's 5 for 8, including a 3 for 3 Game 5 with 2 runs batted in. King at first and nobody out. The Pirates lead 1-0 on the leadoff home run by Barry Bonds here in the 2nd. Fly ball drifting toward the seats and right.
On Sunday night, when Barry Bonds doubled in the 2nd run of the game for the Pirates, on second base you could read his lips saying, "It's over, it's over." And with 2 hits in that game and a solo home run tonight, as you said, Sean, it may very well be.
0-2 on McClendon. King not much of a threat to run, and Glavine keeps him close. Jeff has not attempted, or rather has attempted, 1 stolen base in this series and was thrown out trying to steal. He stole only 4 bases during the regular season, but was thrown out 6 times. Little looper, that will fall in right field. King continues toward third. Justice with the throw, it's cut off. And the Pirates have first and third with nobody out, already leading 1-0.
If you're the first base coach, you would hug a hitter because that was terrific hitting by Lloyd McClendon. 2 strikes on him, protecting the outside part of the plate. Watch where this pitch is. Well, that's a fine piece of hitting by Lloyd McClendon. When a hitter is ahead in the count, he goes to the offense. When he's behind in the count, especially with 2 strikes, you protect the outside part of the plate. And McClendon did it very well in that at-bat.
He is 6 for 9 in the series now with 4 straight hits dating back to Game 5. McClendon at first, King at third, nobody out. 1-0 Pittsburgh in the 2nd. The batter is Don Slott, who homered off Glavine in Game 3. That's well hit toward the gap in right center and in for extra bases. King has scored. McClendon being waved in even with nobody out. Lemke's throw not in time. Berryhill couldn't get him, and McClendon scores to make it 3-0. Rich Donnelly, the third base coach, took a chance with nobody out and waving McClendon around, but the throw from Lemke was offline, and McClendon scored. It's 3-0.
I think the reason that he did that, there was nobody out, right, but the bottom part of the order was coming up. Jim Leland said he would never second-guess Rich Donnelly. Send him. He said because a lot of times with nobody out, you leave that runner at third base and nobody can get him in. So I guess that was Donnelly's thinking by sending McClendon with nobody out, and a good throw nails him. But the throw is up the third base line, and the swipe tag by Berryhill eludes the diving McClendon. 3-0 Pittsburgh. Wow.
Jim Leyland told us when he was the third base coach of the Chicago White Sox, he had a sign that said nobody ever scored a run by stopping at third.
That's right.
Glavine after the visit to the mound, looking at the number 8 hitter, Jose Lean. He takes the fastball high for ball 1.
Jim Leyland was the third base coach under Tony La Russa, the manager of the Oakland Athletics. As a matter of fact, he spoke with Tony La Russa yesterday after the Athletics' victory over the Toronto Blue Jays.
They're in identical situations, really. Blauser will try third. The throw is by Pendleton. Slot comes in to score, and it's 4-0. Lean winds up at second. Had they executed the play, Slot was out. But the ball got past Pendleton. And now another runner is in scoring position, and still nobody out here in the second.
But again, Jim Leyland being very aggressive. Don Slaught, not a fast runner. Look how he runs to the outside of the bag to try to get in the way of the throw of Terry Pendleton, and sure enough, it hits him, and he scores. That is perfectly legal. He was not out of the baseline, but when you run to the outside, you don't give the third baseman a clear shot to catch the ball. Good base running by Don Slaught.
The scoring on the play, a fielder's choice. Charlie Liebrand warming up in the bullpen, and an error charged to the shortstop Blauser, allowing the run to score. Fielder's choice for Lean, error 6. It's 4-0. And Glavine is looking in at the 6th batter of the second inning. The pitcher, Tim Wakefield, tried to bunt on the first pitch and fouled it off for strike 1. They creep into the corners. Wakefield took the bat back. 1 ball and 1 strike. Despite the fact that he's a former minor league first baseman and the all-time home run leader in the history of Florida Tech, Wakefield didn't do much with the Lumber during the regular season, as you saw by the numbers on your screen. Fouled off the leg of Berryhill. That's smarted. 1 ball and 2 strikes. There's no other word for it. These people are stunned.
Yes, they are.
And very concerned. The Pirates trying to force a Game 7 lead, 4-0.
They're not the only ones who are stunned. Those guys in the white uniforms are also stunned.
Wakefield got the bunt down. Glavine tries third. Safe at third. First and third, and still nobody out.
That's Damon Berryhill's call. If he sees the runner at second base get a good jump, then he tells the pitcher third base. If the runner does not, or if he does get a good jump, then he says first base. Jose Lean had too good a jump. It's not a force play. He must make the tag, and that was a bad call by Damon Berryhill. Atlanta coming apart at the seams here in the second inning.
Playing like the Pirates did in the first 2 games here in Atlanta.
Especially Game 2.
And you wonder if they are feeling the anxiety that we spoke of at the start of the telecast. It has been a relatively easy ride to this point in the series. They had 2 games to none and dominating the first 2, then 3 games to 1. And now it's 3 games to 2, and they're on the short end of a 4-0 score. The infield is in with nobody out, and Reedus fouls one out of play. We're in the top of the second. The Pirates have scored 4 times, and they have runners at first and third. The scoring on the ball by Wakefield, a sacrifice, and he reaches on a fielder's choice.
Notice how close Mark Lemke, the second baseman, is to second base. That's because the infield is in, and he wants to complete a double play on a ball hit hard to the left side. The one thing you have to do if you're the runner at third base, you don't want to break too soon. You want to make the infielders think that you're going to break toward home, and then don't do it, and that way hold them to 1 out.
Outside a ball. 1-2 on Reedus, who lined the left on the first pitch of the ball game last inning.
If you're the runner at third base in this situation and you take off and you're thrown out at home, then you have runners at first and second and 1 out. Pittsburgh does not want that situation.
Little bleeder along the right field line. That falls in for a hit. Everything going the way of the Pirates as Lean has scored. Wakefield to third. It's a bloop double for Gary Reedus. He's 6 for 13 in the series. And now Tom Glavine is starting to hear some boos. But in fairness to the left-handers, this inning hasn't been all his fault.
Well, most of it has. I mean, only the throw by the shortstop, Jeff Glauser, was the fault of the defense. Tom Glavine made the throw to third too late. Now, we said Berryhill may have called it, but it certainly was too late. But the Pirates have hit the ball hard. Now, the last one was a little flare, but for the most part, they've hit the ball hard this inning.
It's an inning reminiscent of the first inning endured by Glavine in the All-Star game in July at San Diego. The 8th batter of the inning is Jay Bell. 2 men in scoring position and still nobody out. Pittsburgh leads 5-0. 1-1 the count on Bell, who was hit by a pitch by Glavine last inning. Foul tip into the middle of Berryhill. A ball and 2 strikes. And you'd have to think then that Tom Glavine is 1 hit away from being out of this ball game.
I thought that for the last 2 hitters.
They do have Charlie Leibrandt ready in the bullpen. Still 1-2.
Usually a manager in a long man situation will bring in an opposite arm because the lineup is set to hit against left-handed batters. I'm a little surprised Leibrandt's warming up now as opposed to a guy like Marvin Freeman or Pete Smith, even though Pete Smith worked 3 2/3 innings on Sunday. When you bring the right-hander in, there's a possibility that Reedus McClendon at least could be changed and make Leland make a move early when he doesn't want to.
Well, in Game 5, Tom Glavine watched as Steve Avery was knocked out after 1/3 of an inning. He allowed 4 hits during that stint, or 4 runs rather, on 5 hits. Glavine hasn't recorded an out here in the second, and that's a deep drive to left. Looking up, Gant, that's a home run. A 3-run homer for Jay Bell, and all of a sudden it's 8-0 Pittsburgh. Eight runs in an inning, the most ever allowed by a pitcher in League Championship Series play. The old record, 7 runs allowed by Jerry Royce of Los Angeles against St. Louis in 1985. And Bobby Cox heard boos as the fans here thought he was a little bit late in removing Tom Glavine. And many of the fans behind the dugout on their feet saluting what Glavine has done for this franchise, particularly over the last 2 years. 8-0 the score. Charlie Leibrandt, the new pitcher, when we come back.
CBS has the heat. An all-new season of quality drama.
He's a witness.
Carol O'Connor, Howard Rollins, In the Heat of the Night, premieres after the World Series. A politician on the campaign trail and one lone gunman.
It wasn't a bullet. It was a BB.
Everyone's screaming conspiracy.
I have my doubts about the single BB theory.
And everyone's a suspect.
Do you think I ordered a BB hit?
See it your way, I'll see it mine.
You'll find out what's behind picket fences Friday.
Well, Brave fans might have known without looking up that there was a near full moon overhead on the 13th day of October.
I think that's how big the ball has looked to the Pirates hitters so far this evening.
Charlie Leibrandt on in relief of Tom Glavine. 8 men have come to the plate here in the second for Pittsburgh, and all 8 have scored. Leibrandt has appeared in 1 game in this series, facing Andy Van Slyke, who fouled it away. Charlie pitched his inning in 2/3 in Game 5 on Sunday night in Pittsburgh. Van Slyke hit into a 4-6-3 double play that ended the first. This inning started with a home run by Barry Bonds. And the blow that knocked Glavine out of the ball game, the 3-run homer by Jay Bell. Greg Olson, the injured catcher, he's been looking on with a smile on his face through most of this series. The 1-2 pitch is low. After the home run by Bonds, King and McClendon singled. Slot doubled them in. Lean hit a ground ball to short. Blauser hit Slot with the throw as he was trying to go to third. It went by Pendleton and Slot scored. Lean took second. Wakefield tried to sacrifice Lean to third. The throw to third was late. Van Slyke strikes out for the first out of the inning. And the first strikeout of the night for Atlanta pitching. Well, Wakefield and Lean were at first and third respectively. Then Reedus doubled to drive in Lean. Wakefield took third, and Jay Bell hit a 3-run homer. And here's the man who started it all, Barry Bonds, who homered to right center field on a 1-2 pitch leading off this inning. The 36-year-old Leibrandt. This is outside with the breaking ball. Bob Walk in the center of the picture. He's the man who pitched the Pirates to Game 6 with his 3-hit gem in Game 5. Base hit. 2 hits in the inning for Barry Bonds. He went 4 games with only 1 hit, but he had 2 hits in Game 5 and 2 already tonight. Bobby Cox watched his pitcher endure not only the worst inning ever suffered by a pitcher in League Championship Series play, but also the worst inning endured by a pitcher in any postseason inning, including the World Series.
This is the home run off Tommy Glavine to lead it off, and this is the single back through the middle by Barry Bonds. 2 for 2 in this inning.
Jeff King. He singled the left field and scored the second run of this inning. It's 8-0 Pittsburgh. Bonds has the only stolen base in this series for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Saw one of the hooks that were so prevalent in Pittsburgh over the weekend. Marvin Freeman of the Braves asked, what were all those fans doing with those yellow question marks? A long run for Gant, but he's there. So is Nixon. Gant makes the catch for the second out of the inning.
I'll tell you, those hooks, those Pirate hooks have turned into question marks for the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta, after this 8-run inning, I think are looking out of their car at that right mirror. You know, it has that little note on it. Objects are closer than they appear. The Pittsburgh Pirates coming out on the right lane.
Well, it was so easy for the Atlanta Braves in the first two games of this series. Bonds at first with 2 outs. The 12th batter of the inning is Lloyd McClendon. Base hit. 8 hits in the inning. The throw to third from Justice not in time. Back to first. Now they have McClendon caught. And they almost botched this play. They haven't fully yet. They have Bonds trapped. Pendleton flips to Bream. Bonds bowls him over, but Bream held the ball, and the inning comes to an end. But what an inning it was. A record 8 runs for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and after an inning and a half, they lead 8-0.
The bottom of the ninth, 1 out, a runner on third. You're down by 1, so you strategize. The signal goes in, and the suicide squeeze is on. Your runner takes an easy lead off third because he doesn't want to tip the pitcher that the batter's going to bunt, which he does, and your guy knows it's good, and he's screaming down the chalk. The pitcher's only play is first, and you eat the sacrifice for an RBI and a brand new game. That's the suicide squeeze, and that's baseball.
A message from Major League Baseball.
To reiterate, no pitcher in postseason play has ever given up 8 runs in an inning prior to tonight. That's what happened to Tom Glavine. Barry Bonds, the 6th player in League Championship Series history to have 2 hits in an inning. Lloyd McClendon became the 7th. Doug Graybeck will be the starting pitcher in Game 7 if we have one. And right now, that looms as a distinct possibility. Still a long way to go, and the Braves have shown in this series, particularly in Game 2, that they can score a lot of runs in a hurry. They piled 13 on very quickly in Game 2. Sid Bream leads off. He's just 1 for his last 8 after a hot start to the NLCS. Wakefield snuck in the fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike on Bream. Ron Gant to follow, and then Damon Berryhill.
Wakefield would not have thought of throwing a 1-0 fastball to Bream in a tie ball game or a close game. Things have changed now. And because of that, I wonder if Jim Leland is thinking about tomorrow night with an 8-run lead. I know the bullpen has had their problems. I know Atlanta has scored 13 runs in Game 2. But I wonder if Jim Leland is saying, if we go a couple of more innings, I'll take him out of the game regardless of whether he gets a win or not. And then have him in the bullpen and back a Doug Graybeck tomorrow night. Just a thought. I don't know if Jim's thinking that way or not, but he could be.
I think if he is, he wouldn't execute that until much deeper into the ball game because, as you mentioned, the bullpen has been shaky, and you have to win this game.
Yeah, and if you do that later in the ball game, well then, for the most part, you might as well let him complete the ball game and be effective because you're not going to use him tomorrow anyway.
After the leadoff walk to Sid Bream, Ron Gant fouls the first pitch he sees tonight out of play. Gant 0 for his last 6, and now 4 for 17 in the LCS. Plus, when we talked about the prospect of Game 7 with Jim Leland, we felt very confident that there's no way Doug Graybeck would allow him to throw his 3rd subpar game in a row in this series. There's Graybeck. He and John Smoltz would pair up again if there is a Game 7. Right now it's 8-0 Pittsburgh in Game 6 in the bottom of the 2nd inning. 1-2 the count on Gant. Gant way up in the front of the batter's box to combat the knuckleball. Strike 3. Gant was bending back to get out of the way, but the knuckleball caught the inside part of the plate for the first out of the inning and the second strikeout of the night for Tim Wakefield.
You could tell by Gant's reaction how much that knuckleball broke. Here it is again. Thought it was going to hit him. And it darted down and out at the last minute.
Damon Berryhill pulled one foul, and that last pitch was the best example that we've seen tonight of what you mentioned in Game 3. The home plate umpire can't disappear thinking that the pitch is going to stay on its course. Ed Montague thought that the path of the ball was going to continue along the same line that Ron Gant did. He easily could have called that a ball by giving up on it.
That's an example right there. Don Slaught had no idea where the ball is, and that's another problem that a catcher has. That mid is so big, you can't feel the ball in it. Sometimes you think you may have it, and then you don't. As you can see, he left the ball, but that big mid is very difficult to feel the ball. The smaller ones, obviously, it's very easy to do that because of the smaller pocket. But that big thing, pizza pan. Flexible pizza pan is what it is. Was there any chance that that previous pitch was a trick play on the part of Slaught, trying to convince the runner that he didn't know where the ball was when in actuality he did? No. No, catchers don't have those types of plays. I know we as announcers tend to talk about those, but that's not realistic. It's tough enough, trying to battle that thing back there rather than thinking about tricking a runner.
2-2 the count on Berryhill with Mark Lemke on deck. That's well hit to right. McClendon drifting back just in front of the warning track. He makes the catch. 2 away. And Bream returns to first. We're in the second. Pittsburgh enjoys an 8-0 lead.
So we have had 2 switch hitters now batting right-handed against the knuckleballer. Damon Berryhill and Terry Pendleton earlier, and both hit the ball hard. Pendleton lining up the middle. So maybe that's what they learned in batting practice, batting against Bruce Del Canton and Phil Necro.
Although Lemke, a switch hitter, is going to stay on the left side of the plate. After a hot start, he has tailed off in this series, 0 for his last 7. That's bounced up there again. Slaught can't find it, and Bream takes second. It is a 5-knee operation, so third base was not in his mind, particularly with his team down by 8 runs. And that's a wild pitch. Charge to Wakefield. So there's a runner in scoring position now for Mark Lemke.
These wild pitches, by the way, are the first wild pitches that Wakefield has thrown in a long, long time. He had all 3 wild pitches that he threw on July 31st, his first start. That was a complete game win over the Cardinals. So the Pirate catchers have done very, very well catching Wakefield's knuckleball.
It was really starting with that night that the Pirates and their fans had the feeling that Wakefield might be something special. He went the distance, allowed only 2 unearned runs, and struck out 10 in that debut against St. Louis. 3-1 now on Lemke. The pitcher Lee Brandt on deck to bat next for the Braves. And that one stayed high for ball 4. 2 walks in the inning, first and second with 2 down. And it appears that Lee Brandt will hit for himself. There is action in the Atlanta bullpen. Pete Smith is throwing out there. And now he's going to take a seat, and some of the fans boo as Lee Brandt strides toward the plate. I'd like to see Bobby Cox take a chance at getting back into this ball game right now.
Yeah, maybe employing a left-handed hitter or something, a guy like Lonnie Smith, but it is early, but they're down by 8. Do have a fully rested staff. Off day yesterday. Lee Brandt working a little over an inning on Sunday night, and Pete Smith 3 2/3. But for the most part, the bullpen is rested.
have been a chance to take one for the club. This is Charlie Leibrandt. It's not going to get hurt. Not going to hurt to get hit by that knuckleball, you wouldn't think. One ball and 2 strikes. Leibrandt during the regular season went 7 for 58 at the plate with no homers, and he drove in 4. And he strikes out. The Braves strand 2. After 2. 8-0 Pirates.
So my wife says nobody gets past Philly's defense. So I say Washington's Art Monk can. So my wife says I gotta lose some weight. So I say, look who's talking. So my wife says she'll cook lasagna Sunday if I don't talk during the Eagles-Redskins game on CBS. So I say, yes, dear, I'm a big fan.
We're back in Atlanta, and let's check in with Jim Gray.
All right, Sean, the saying and slogan this year in Pittsburgh is "We Believe," and it was started by a radio talk show host by the name of John Cigna. One morning in July, he woke up when the Montreal Expos were coming into town right on the Pittsburgh Pirates trail, and he said, I believe, and I think we all should believe. Well, he got a supermarket involved. They printed up 50,000 posters. Then the city got involved. They started hanging up banners and billboards all across. So in 1979, it was We Are Family, and now in 1992, it's We Believe. Sean?
And the Pittsburgh Pirates trying to do what the 79 Pirates did in the World Series. Come from 3 games to 1 down to win. Billy Stargell and company did that to the Baltimore Orioles. Don Slott doubled, driving in 2 runs last inning. He also scored as part of the 8-run second that knocked Tom Glavine out of the ball game. Charlie Leibrandt has come on and held the Pirates at bay while striking out 2 now. 1 out in the 3rd, 8-0 Pittsburgh, and Jose Lean stands in. Chico reached on a fielder's choice and scored the 5th Pittsburgh run last inning. Lean to the plate with Wakefield on deck. Blauser, nice play on the outfield grass, and he gets Lean by a running step.
Bobby Cox telling us about Jeff Blauser's defense and about how important it has been to the Braves, especially the last couple of months. Fine play by Jeff Blauser.
Hard to believe, but at one time he was considered a good hit, no-field shortstop.
Worked hard on his defense.
Wakefield with the comebacker. Leibrandt throws him out. The Pirates go quickly in order, and we'll return to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium after this word from your local station.
3 cops take on a fire starter. He thinks he's immortal.
If this room goes, you go with it. That's impossible.
The Hat Squad, Wednesday. Friday, it's Mary Jo versus Julia.
Duck when the earrings start flying.
Guess who's the referee?
You both express yourselves quite well.
Back off!
They're designing women. Then discover Bob's arty background.
Why did those sessions have to be in the news?
To capture the contours of your anatomy.
But why did you have to be in the news?
Bob after Designing Women Friday. This is CBS.
How do you feel?
I feel great.
You feel terrible. Do you want to make some money? Okay. You feel terrible.
He's a small-time lawyer with one shot at the big time.
No can do. What's no can do? What's that, a Chinese appetizer?
Not since Raging Bull has there been such a performance.
This is it, man.
Gritty, intense, 2 powerhouse performances from De Niro and Lange.
You want to kill me? I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
I'll bring you home, baby.
Night and the City, rated R. Exclusive engagement starts Friday at the Coronet.
Catastrophe in Egypt. Earthquake toll mounts after the game.
Our blimp tonight is Goodyear's Stars and Stripes from Pompano Beach, Florida. At the controls is Captain Jim Maloney from Vienna, Virginia. What a beautiful night to be up there. Just a perfect day in Atlanta. The high temperature today was 77 degrees. It was 70 at game time. Top of the order coming up for the Braves in the 3rd inning. Otis Nixon, Jeff Blauser, and Terry Pendleton will face Tim Wakefield.
Otis got ahead in the count 2-0 his first time up, and then was thrown 3 straight strikes by Wakefield. Fly ball, long run for Bonds as it slices into the stands. Slap to left. Bonds is there. 1 out. We're in the third. Pittsburgh leads 8-0. And tomorrow afternoon, the American League Championship Series resumes with their Game 6 at 3 Eastern Time. And this moment from 2 games ago has ignited some hostilities between the two. Some of the Toronto Blue Jays a bit upset at the fist pumping of Dennis Eckersley. That was in Game 4, the game in which Toronto came from 6-1 down to beat Eckersley. Jack Morris called that a Little League act, but then again Roberto Alomar charged the Athletics, hit a home run, and ran around the bases with his arms up over his head.
In retaliation, possibly, to what Eckersley had done, Eckersley struck out Ed Sprague to end the 8th inning and resorted to those histrionics. And then Alomar with a 2-run homer in the 9th inning to tie it in a game that Toronto won. I'll tell you, that's something that used to be looked upon as something that baseball players shouldn't do. But now I think the game's played differently. I mean, guys watch home runs, they sit and look at them, and then they style around the bases. This is the Alomar home run right here, a 2-run shot. Now watch Alomar, arms up, possibly in retaliation to what Eckersley did. That tied it, and then Toronto won it in extra innings. The game's played differently now, though. 20 years ago, if a pitcher hit after doing something like that, he'd have been knocked down. Plain and simple. You didn't do it. But a lot of guys do it now, and the game's different. Whether that's right or not, it's up to the way you really grew up in the game. Some more conservative approach says that's Bush, but there are others that accept it. Especially the guys who are coming into the game now. They don't seem to mind it. So if they don't mind it, why should fans?
That's off Wakefield and high in the air, handled by Bell. Now, is it an out? One of the Pirates, Don Slott, asking if the ball had been caught in the air.
Yeah.
But apparently it got a piece of the ground because Blauser is standing on first base. It looked like it hit either the rubber or the foot of Wakefield, but Wakefield immediately indicated to the dugout that he's okay.
It looked like it hit him on the top of the right foot initially, but evidently it hit some ground too. So if that were the case, it may have hit the sole of the shoe. We'll see. No, it clearly hit the ground and then came up to hit the shin, and Jay Bell fielded it, so it'll be a base hit for Jeff Blauser.
Once the second Atlanta hit, Terry Pendleton had the first while batting from the right side of the plate. He's a switch hitter. Ordinarily, he'd bat from the left against a right-handed pitcher, but not so against the knuckleballer Wakefield. 1 out in the bottom of the third, 8-0 Pittsburgh. Pendleton lifts a pop-up. Leaned. 2 outs.
I don't think I have ever seen 2 switch hitters in a lineup bat right-handed against a right-handed pitcher in any one game. I'm saying Bobby Bonilla did it against John Tudor a couple of years ago of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's a switch hitter, of course. He hit left-handed against John Tudor and homered off of him in St. Louis. But 2 in one lineup, 2 switch hitters batting right-handed. Damon Berryhill, the other one this evening.
David Justice was out on a fly ball to left field his first time up. Sliced out of play. 0-2. Well, the game 8-0. That young fan diverting his attention to the souvenir program. There is room if they can get there. King and slot. It's King right in front of the dugout making the play. That ends the inning. We've played 3, and the Pirates lead 8-0.
This game summary is sponsored by AT&T.
Tom Glavine in the second inning allowed a league championship series record 8 runs in that inning. Started with a solo home run by Barry Bonds. He also had a single in the frame. And the 8-run inning capped by the 3-run round tripper by Jay Bell. The Pirates came into the game tonight having hit only 2 home runs in the first 5 games of this series. They hit 2 in 1 inning. And they're batting with an 8-0 lead in the top of the 4th against reliever Charlie Leibrandt, who has pitched 2 innings of shutout relief. Gary Reedus doubled to drive in a run. He scored in the second. One note from baseball today, the Seattle Mariners have fired manager Jim Plummer after 1 year as skipper of the Mariners. His coaching staff was fired as well. Bill Plummer fired today by general manager Woody Woodward as manager of the Seattle Mariners. Let Jim Lefebvre go a year ago after the first and only winning season the Mariners have had. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Reedus. Jay Bell to follow, and then Andy Van Slyke. Gary Reedus, one of the heroes to this point in this series for the Pittsburgh Pirates, particularly in games 3 and 5. He's got a combined 5 hits and has scored 2 runs. He's also knocked 1 in tonight.
5 of his 6 hits for extra bases. He has 5 extra base hits in this series, and he had only 10 all year long. 7 doubles, 3 triples.
Well, he's done an excellent job defensively at first base. He is ordinarily an outfielder. He says, I just try not to embarrass myself at first base, but he's done much better than that. He's the oldest member of the Pirates at 35. The record for extra base hits in a championship series is 6, shared by Steve Garvey, Tom Brunansky, and Will Clark. Garvey at 6 in 78, Brunansky in 87, Clark in 89. He strikes out, chasing the pitch that appeared to be outside. 1 out in the 4th. Charlie Leibrandt has already struck out 3. Jay Bell was hit by a pitch by Tom Glavine in the first. Then he knocked Glavine out of the ball game with a 3-run homer in the second. Bell had 9 home runs during the regular season. He had 17 a year ago. His power dropped a bit in 1992.
And that was only the 2nd home run in the last 3 league championship series that the Pirates have hit with runners on base. They had 10 over that period, but 8 have been solo shots.
The 1-1 from Leibrandt is outside. Jim Gray mentioned the We Believe slogan that came to be the motto for the Pittsburgh Pirates this year, and that was reinforced when they returned home after the 2 disastrous games here in Atlanta. They were almost buried in a blizzard of banners and cards that arrived from school children throughout the Pittsburgh area. They were all over the walls leading from the clubhouse to the playing field. We have some excerpts from some of those cards that you see on the wall. Some of them, as you might imagine, coming from the youngsters, are very entertaining.
Classic.
A young lady named Kristen wrote to Gary Reedus, I know you live in Huntington Woods and you moved.
Inspiring, isn't it?
That's right. Bell down to third. And Pendleton throws him out. A young lady named Dina wrote, "Dear Andy Van Slyke, hi, how are you? I am fine. I bet you never knew this. I go to your pool." And Barry Bonds received a letter from Yuri. "I hope you hit a home run. I love you." And Yuri loves Barry even more tonight after the home run that started the second. Here's Andy. And you'll say hello to Dina the next time he's out at the pool.
Children have a way of getting to the point, right?
8-0 Pittsburgh. Pirates batting with 2 outs in the fourth. Nobody on base. Van Slyke has bounced into a double play. He was the first man to face Lebrand in the second and struck out. A little bit low and away. Of course, it's also a big political night here in Atlanta. The vice presidential debates held earlier this evening just a few miles away on the campus of Georgia Tech. Undoubtedly, Andy Van Slyke might have caught a glimpse of it. He was a keen follower of the political scene and often has things to say on that subject. But in the interest of equal time, we won't share them in this forum. Barry Bonds waits on deck. One political figure who is here tonight is the former President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, watching from the Braves box. Alongside Senator Sam Nunn on the right of your screen and Braves owner Ted Turner.
I spoke with Louis Grizzard, who is a columnist with the Atlanta Constitution before the game, and he said he was going to do a writer's version of Deion Sanders tonight. He was going to go to the debate and then come to the ballpark.
But does he have a shoe contract? Very high and drifting into the stands.
He opted for the ball game instead. It was Louis Grizzard that wrote, by the way, that Atlanta going to the World Series last year was about as unlikely as Argentina winning the Falklands War several years ago. And I guess it would be about that unlikely if Atlanta loses 3 in a row to Pittsburgh. They're on the bad end of losing 2 in a row right now with Pittsburgh up 8-0.
Van Slyke worked off the 1-2 hook to draw a walk. The first thrown by Lebrand. He's aboard with 2 down in the fourth. Certainly Bobby Cox had to feel good about his chances ahead 3-1 with Avery, Glavine, and Smoltz.
Yeah.
Lined up with who needed 3 starting pitchers over the remainder of the series. He still has Smoltz on deck for tomorrow night, and there's still a long way to go in this one, with Pittsburgh batting in the fourth, leading 8-0. They have 8 hits. 2 of them belong to Barry Bonds. Both hits came in the second. A leadoff home run, and then a single. One ball on Bonds, who came very close to being a member of the Atlanta Braves this year. These two teams had serious trade talks in spring training involving Barry Bonds. Matter of fact, when we were here in the middle of the season, I asked John Schuerholz how close that was to becoming a reality. He said, "We thought we had a deal done." And I said, "Well, why didn't it happen?" He said, "You'd have to ask Ted Simmons then." Simmons, the general manager of the Pirates. Bobby Cox acknowledged before the game today that indeed there were very serious discussions between the two.
2 of the players are thought to be involved. David Justice, the right fielder, and Kent Merker, the left-hander, in the bullpen. Because if the Pirates can't sign him, they will lose Barry Bonds and get nothing in return. Nada.
Bonds walks on 4 pitches. After retiring the first 2 with ease here in the fourth, Lebrand has walked Van Slyke and Bonds back-to-back, and now he'll have to deal with Jeff King.
There is National League President Bill White. He will be retiring next March. And we understand that once Bill retires as National League President after serving one term. He will be going down to Annapolis to his boat and be fixing up the teak wood down there. And he does a lot of fishing. Bill White, a 4-year term as National League president.
Both he and American League president Dr. Bobby Brown have expressed their intention to depart. 1 ball on Jeff King. So suddenly Lee Brandt cannot find the strike zone. Pittsburgh with runners in scoring position, 3 for 25 in the first 4 games. Now a combined 10 for 17 in the last 2 ball games.
I think with the firing of Fay Vincent as commissioner, the more powers given to the league presidents came too late as far as Bill White is concerned. I think that was one of the things that stuck in his craw, is that he didn't have enough power. The umpiring situation a couple of years ago that he was very, very upset about, disciplining of Joe West. Commissioner Vincent intervened. He was livid, Bill White that is, at that intervention. And that was one of the things, one of a number of things that has driven him into retirement. He said he didn't have the authority, and he's retiring.
Well, in many ways, the position of league president is largely ceremonial.
Right.
And a lot of really important responsibilities for the league president, and I think for an accomplished man like Bill White or Dr. Bobby Brown, that can be frustrating.
From what the owners say, however, in the future, there will be more power given to league presidents, and as we said, that happened after the firing of Fay Vincent.
More to the presidents, less to the commissioner. King to right, justice there, the Pirates strand 2. We played 3.5 in Game 6. The Pirates trying to force a Game 7, lead by 8.
They're fighting drug gangs,
Possession of crack cocaine.
and it's tearing their town apart.
They're setting us up for something.
Carol O'Connor, Howard Rollins in the Heat of the Night premieres after the World Series.
Welcome back to Fulton County Stadium. I'm with Bill White, the National League president. Bill, there is a report tonight that the new people in San Francisco who want to keep the Giants there are willing to build a stadium. What will you do about that situation, and how does the San Francisco situation right now stand?
Well, we'll look at both groups. We have a group in Tampa, the Namoli group. We have a group in San Francisco, the McGowan group, and we'll look at both of them. The executive council will look at both bids and decide where baseball wants to go. Well, obviously, you would rather keep a team in the city where it presently is. Baseball just can't continue to move around. But if there is no stadium and if there is no proper bid, competitive bid, then obviously you have to look someplace else.
Well, is this bid in your mind proper and competitive? It is $95 million, about $20 million short than the people in Tampa.
Well, the executive council of baseball will decide that. I think they'll look at both bids.
How long will you give the groups in San Francisco? If this one cannot come through, will you wait for another? How long will you detain this move or make a decision on this move? How long do the people in San Francisco have?
There are a lot of deadlines that we have. I think baseball would like to get this done as soon as possible. How's that for a political answer?
That doesn't say a whole lot, Bill.
That's what I've learned to do since I've been in this job.
Thank you, Bill. Let's go back upstairs. Sean?
Ooh, wasn't that a telling final statement? We spoke of his frustration with the job and the politics involved in it, and you made, I think, a very direct statement on that subject with that final remark. What I don't understand is how the baseball owners should be allowed to decide that Bob Lurie should accept $20 million less for his team. Jim Gray
the
mentioned.
Executive Council, right.
That's right. Jim Gray mentioned, there's a ball that gets by Slot. Green, who started the inning with a single, takes second. That will likely be a pass ball on Slot. Looked like a pitch he could have handled. But the San Francisco group has offered Mr. Lurie $95 million, and the Tampa Bay group $115 million.
And how would you feel if you were a part of the Tampa Bay group? I mean, was a deal made? Obviously, it wasn't made in stone, but I mean, what right do they have legally now if the team decides to stay in San Francisco?
I think there will be a lawsuit if that happens.
Absolutely.
Ron Gant looked at the ball outside. A runner in scoring position with nobody out, and now it's 3-1 on Gant. Braves will try to claw back into this one. They're down 8-0. And batting in the 4th inning. Bream at second and nobody out. Gant will be followed by Berryhill. Wakefield has allowed 3 hits, and now he has issued another walk, the 3rd that he has thrown. We're at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium for Game 6 of the National League Championship Series. Atlanta leads this best-of-7 series 3 games to 2. But the Pirates lead this one 8-0. In the bottom of the 4th, Berryhill again batting from the right side, lifts a pop-up in his shallow right. McClendon the catch, 1 out.
What makes Berryhill a switch hitter, batting from the right side against a right-handed pitcher, particularly odd, is that 9 of the 10 home runs that Berryhill had this year were from the left side. I really don't understand it, but both he and Terry Pendleton are batting right-handed tonight. I understand Pendleton more than I do Berryhill.
Well, neither of them had a hit in Game 3 against Wakefield. Pendleton went 0 for 4. Berryhill 0 for 3. Mark Lemke walked his first time up tonight. Knuckleball in for strike 1. 1 out, runners at first and second. 8-0 Pittsburgh in the 4th. The pitcher scheduled to bat next, but Lonnie Smith has moved into the on-deck circle to pinch hit. Marvin Freeman is warming up. And if Smith does indeed bat for Lee Brandt, Freeman will be the new pitcher. Lemke out on strikes. That's the 2nd out of the inning and the 4th strikeout of the night for Tim Wakefield.
Boy, did that knuckleball dance down.
And the hand is for Lonnie Smith. Nicknamed Stretch Drive by manager Bobby Cox for his performances in the clutch, both in the regular season and postseason.
One thing Bobby Cox told us was that Lonnie Smith was the man. Now, and you know he is. He's their best pinch hitter, but here the Braves are trailing 8-0 in the 4th inning with 2 on and 1 out. I guess Bobby's thinking on this is that he may not get another chance to use Lonnie Smith with men on base. So pinch hit him now.
And he delivers a base hit to right field. Bream is being waved around. The throw goes to 3rd. And the Braves are on the board. It's 8-1. So Lonnie Smith is 2 for 5 in this series now as a pinch hitter. That's his first RBI of this NLCS. And the lead is cut to 7 with 2 men on and 2 outs. Otis Nixon, the hitter, he is struck out and line to left. One strike on Nixon. Gant, the runner at second. Smith at first. Ball 1 outside. If Nixon could keep the inning alive, Jeff Blauser would bat next. Bream kind of happy for a guy whose team's down by 7 runs.
Yeah, well, he just scored 1 run. Only run your team has. That's all you have. That's all you have to be happy about.
Have to start somewhere and build on something. That's what the Braves are hoping they'll do in this inning. Sid Bream remains the only man for whom the fans here in Atlanta chant Sid, Sid, Sid. Nixon a swing and a miss, strike 2.
Obvious reason for that.
We shared that reason with him earlier in the series. We know everybody watching tonight has been with us for every pitch of the 6 games to date. The reason, of course, is he's the only man named Sid. Full count now. With 2 outs, the runners will get the jump. Dance from second, Smith from first. And that's ball 4, and they're loaded up for Jeff Blauser.
I don't agree with that call right there. A 3-2 knuckleball with a 7-run lead. Otis Nixon is not a power hitter. He had 2 home runs this year from the left side. Tim Wakefield, he'll probably throw anything Slaught puts down there, but I think a fastball was the pitch there, not the knuckler.
Jeff Blauser narrowly missed hitting a home run off Wakefield in Pittsburgh in Game 3. He's a career .375 hitter with the bases loaded. And there is action for the first time tonight in the Pirate bullpen. The right-hander is Roger Mason, the lefty Bob Patterson. 8-1 Pittsburgh, with the Braves with a chance to get right back in it against Jim Leyland's club here in the 4th inning. Knuckleball in for strike 2. 0-2 on Blauser, who had an infield hit his last time up. He's 1 for 2 tonight. Check swing and a ball outside.
Jim Leyland will tell you that he does not know how to manage a knuckleball. Before Tim Wakefield came up this year, he had never seen him throw a knuckleball. Obviously very impressed with his confidence, his poise, but more impressed with his knuckleball.
A pop-up. Jay Bell makes the catch, and the Braves settle for 1 run in the 4th inning off Wakefield. After 4, 8-1, Pittsburgh.
He may be a Superman, but after 75 fastballs, even Nolan Ryan's muscles can ache.
After the game, it's Advil, and those aches are long gone.
Today, it isn't aspirin or Tylenol acetaminophen. It's Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Larson is ready, gets the sign. Here's strike ball 1. Here comes the pitch. Strike 3. A no-hitter, a perfect name for John Larson.
Williams swings, and there's a long drive to deep right.
Contrary to popular belief, it's not impossible to recreate history. It just has to be done with a great deal of care. The Cooperstown Collection. It's a part of baseball you can call your own.
How about that?
A message from Major League Baseball.
From time to time during this series, my colleague Tim McCarver has occasionally referred to Tim Wakefield as Bill Wakefield, the name of a former Tim McCarver teammate. Yesterday we asked Tim Wakefield, did you ever think about changing your name to Bill Wakefield?
No, not at all. You know, I heard that came in the clubhouse. The guys were giving me a hard time. Tim McCarver just called you Bill. And I said, how could he get Tim wrong? It's his own first name. So, you know, stuff like that happens.
I think he has a point.
Yes, he does. I thought it was great when we were walking into the ballpark on Thursday, the off day in Pittsburgh, and Tim Wakefield was walking into the stadium at the same time. He waved to you and said, hey, Bill McCarver.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm sure Bill Wakefield's proud of Tim Wakefield. Did a terrific job in Game 3, and he has his team ahead 8-1 with a lot of help from his mates tonight. His mates batting in the 5th inning. Lloyd McClendon had 2 hits in that 8-run second inning. He's facing reliever Marvin Freeman. Freeman, the 6'6" right-hander, making his 3rd appearance of this NLCS. And follows 3 innings of shutout relief from Charlie Liebrandt. The starter Tom Glavine, if you're just joining us, charged for all 8 runs in the second inning, the most runs ever allowed in any postseason inning by a pitcher, including League Championship Series and World Series play. Freeman in with a fastball for his first strike. 3-1 on McClendon.
And that's very understandable because normally pitchers wouldn't be allowed to remain in the game if they gave up that many runs.
And that's ball 4. So McClendon is on for the third time. Let's look back at the headlines from the first 5 games of this series. In game 1, it was John Smoltz coming out smoking, particularly early. Sid Bream paced the offense. In game 2, Mark Lemke made it 5 hits over the first 2 games in the 13-5 win, highlighted by Ron Gant's grand slam. And Atlanta had a 2-game sit-on lead. With another ball, Freeman visited by Damon Berryhill. The Pirates returned home and got their wake-up call from Tim Wakefield, who threw a complete Game 5 hitter. Gary Reedus had 3 hits and scored the game-winning run. In Game 4, Otis Nixon was indeed the one. He had 4 hits and going 4 for 5. And Jeff Reardon came on to save it, capping an outstanding performance by the Braves bullpen. Game 5, with the Pirates on the verge of elimination, Bob Walk, a surprise starter, threw the best game of his career, a 3-hitter. And Barry Bonds broke out of his career-long postseason slump to make it 3-2 in favor of Atlanta. And that's where we stand, with the Pirates leading this one 8-1 and batting in the 5th inning with a runner at first and nobody out, and a count of 1-0 on Don Slott. Slott doubled to drive in 2 runs in the 2nd. He scored as well. He struck out looking against Lebrand in the 3rd.
Don hammering that sinker from Marvin Freeman off his left foot. Catcher's taken up abuse behind the plate, without having to undergo further damage when they hammer one off the foot. A heavy sinker from the 6'6" Marvin Freeman. It's tougher for a guy that tall to throw a sinker. Usually sinker ballers are of shorter stature.
Fastball fouled back in our direction as Tim takes cover. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jose leaned on deck. And again tonight, Tim, it's the right-handed hitting platoon lineup with Jim Leland that has come up big. He's had much more production from this right-handed punch. These fellas don't play when the opponents start a right-handed pitcher, as the Braves will tomorrow night if there's a Game 7. Jim Leland's Chargers will be looking at John Smoltz. 17 for 34 combined. The right-handed platoon trio of Reedus, McClendon, and Slott. Slott's unlikely to be in there tomorrow night.
Right-handers neutralized because of John Smoltz, a right-handed pitcher, of course. The one thing, by carrying that game into tomorrow night, the Braves will lose John Smoltz as their starter of the World Series if they win it. That is provided this game is over here, and we still have half the game to play, but the Braves trail by 7. The probable rotation, if the Braves win it tomorrow night, will be Steve Avery, Tom Glavine on Sunday, and then Smoltz starting against either Toronto or Oakland next Tuesday in those parts. But this game, as you said earlier, a long way from being over.
Although back-to-back walks to start the inning won't help to keep it close. 1st and 2nd and nobody out. We're in the 5th, 8-1 Pittsburgh. Chico Lean now 0 for his last 8. He reached on a fielder's choice and scored one of the 8 runs in the 2nd. Bounced to short his last time up. Tim, there is action in the Pittsburgh bullpen.
Yeah,
What do you suppose that's all about?
it's an interesting thing as you see Danny Jackson and Randy Tomlin warming. And remember earlier we asked the question, if Jim Leland was thinking maybe about pulling Bill Wakefield with as big a lead as they had, and possibly, did I say Bill again? I did. See, you keep telling me that on camera.
Put it back in your mind.
Put it back. I've got my note up here saying "Say Tim" tonight.
Oh, that's not quite what it says. Can I hold it up for the public so they can see?
I'm not sure. Sure you can.
The note
certainly
says
it's appropriate. I think it's more appropriate to talk about Tim Wakefield right now.
Tim or Bill.
Oh, Tim.
It is Tim.
Yes,
There's
it
the
is
Tim
Tim.
Cam.
Yes. It is.
Oh, and 2 the count on Lean.
That there are some things that are never sacred in the broadcasting
That's
booth.
right. Here's the note that Tim McCarver wrote himself. Tim Wakefield, Tommy. Want me to tape it right over the monitor? Shouldn't be that hard a name for you to remember. There's a base hit. Lean down into the corner with it. That will score at least 1. Now Gant stumbles on the track. Slot is being waved in. The relay throw, not in time. It's 10-1 Pittsburgh. Chico Lean ends an 0 for 8 drought with a double into the left field corner.
So the bullpen is down. Tomlin and Jackson, and now Wakefield will be batting. I would imagine he'll be bunting.
With Lean at second and nobody out. Freeman will go to first. Lemke, it's a sacrifice. 1-4. Lean to third with 1 out. Well, you know what we can do? Maybe like certain people in sports and entertainment, they're known by only one name. Madonna, Cher, Magic, Michael. And we just call them Wakefield and
Nux.
Solve the problem for you.
Nux. That's what Phil Niekro's name was. White Wilhelm. A lot of knuckleball pitchers have become.
We're just going to change your name. That was Buzz Hannon sitting behind us, by the way, our stage manager. Now Berryhill and Freeman are going to get on the same page. Buzz, wave hi to America. This is Buzz Hannon, our stage manager.
His friends know him as Bill.
That's right. Tim remembers his name, Buzz. Steve Hurt, our director of statistics, off to our left. People who write us similar notes to the one we displayed from time to time. Gary Reedus. Double to drive in a run. He scored in the second. He's 1 for 3. And you wonder, with as well as he has performed, again, if there is a Game 7 tomorrow night, if Jim Leland would consider going away from the strict platoon and keep 1 or 2 of these hot right-handed bats in the lineup against Smoltz. Reedus in the hole, 0-2, the infield in with the Braves down by 9 runs. Pittsburgh has added 2 more here in the 5th. They lead 10-1.
Neither manager has employed that particular type of offensive strategy yet, but Pittsburgh right-handed hitters are so hot, you wonder if Jim Leland's thinking that about tomorrow night.
Whoa.
Now you are the one that moved.
Yes,
that
I
time.
did.
Got you up, huh? See what happens when that ball comes at you?
Lacking any assistance from Bill McCarver, I decided to head for safer ground. Marvin Freeman with the 0-2 pitch just outside. There is action in the Atlanta bullpen. Kent Merker is throwing out there, the left-hander. Base hit through the drawn-in infield. It's 11-1. Reed is 2 for 4 again tonight. He is 7 for 15 in the series. Leaned home from third. 3 runs off Freeman here in the 5th inning.
I wonder if Jim Leyland was going to school on that at bat against a right-handed pitcher. If Reedus does start tomorrow night, he will be starting against the right-hander John Smoltz. We'll be interested in going to Leland tomorrow. We visit with him a half an hour before every game and asking him several questions along those lines. Whether he's going to start the right-handers, whether he thought about taking out Tim Wakefield earlier tonight.
That's the pitching matchup for tomorrow night. If this score stands, it's going to take a major uprising and a half on the part of the Braves to turn this thing around. Bell with a check swing roller down to first. Bream the play, 2 down. And Reedus moves into scoring position. Well, whichever one of these two teams makes it to the World Series, we have seen in this series that the bullpen could be a big problem for either Atlanta or Pittsburgh if they face either Oakland or Toronto. When called upon, neither bullpen has really done that great a job.
When you think about the starters for either Oakland or Toronto, both teams will be facing primarily right-handed starters. The only starter for either of those teams that they could face, other than a right-hander, is Jimmy Key, the left-hander with Toronto, if he's inserted as a starter.
Van Slyke with a hit. Reedus will try it, and he'll score without a throw. 12-1 Pirates.
Now do you think about taking Wakefield out? You're 11 runs ahead. You could use him tomorrow night. He's pitched 4 innings. This is kind of on the bubble time.
Well, Jim Leyland was asked after he pitched so well in Game 3, would he consider bringing Wakefield back in Game 5 with only 1 day's rest? He said, no, I really don't want to do that. I don't want to jeopardize the young man with only 1 day's rest. You got the sense Wakefield felt he could do it. Jim Leyland tells the story after the win in Game 3. Coming into the park for Game 4, he was signing autographs for fans who were slapping him on the back for the win the previous night. And after he signed all the autographs, one fellow said to him, how come you're not using Wakefield tomorrow night?
Yeah, he waited until he signed the autographs, and then he said that.
That's right.
Then he second-guessed.
And a mock cheer goes up for Freeman as Gant makes the catch. Halfway through the ball game, the Pirates lead 12-1. Bill McCarver and I will be back in just a moment.
I know how we can go down in history.
2 brothers in life and in love.
I'm in love with Jesse Burns.
In friendship and in conflict.
You are in debt up your damn neck. I'll be fine.
Vanity Fair calls A River Runs Through It a masterpiece.
Boys, what have you done?
Craig Sheffer, Brad Pitt.
Hang on!
A River Runs Through It, a film by Robert Redford, rated PG. At theaters now, starts Friday at additional theaters.
What's the last thing a criminal sees
Remember me?
before Judgment Day?
Let me write this down.
Wednesdays after baseball, the Hat Squad. Meet old friends at the Golden Palace.
Get out of here before I cut your ears off. You guys know each other? Yeah, I caught him in bed with my wife.
You sure it's his ears you want to cut off?
All new Golden Palace. Then, uncover the naked truth about Polly's past.
You told me everything about your past?
Well, I never posed for a magazine in Muscovies.
Meet your dad after the Golden Palace, Friday.
Bob McDonough along with Bill McCarver and Tom Gray here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, where the Pirates lead 12-1 as we go to the bottom of the 5th, and the inning started by Terry Pendleton's base hit. Again, batting right-handed as he has all 3 times up tonight against Wakefield, and it's worked for him. He's 2 for 3 after an 0 for 4 against the knuckleballer in Game 3. And Tim, this really is reminiscent of Game 3 for the Braves. They felt they made solid contact against Wakefield. They had a lot of chances. They just couldn't get runs in. They've already left 7 men on through the first 4 innings. And they've hit some balls sharply, including that one, but it's foul, says John McSherry.
It's a big difference hitting balls sharply in a 3-2 game compared to to a game where you're down 8-0 in the second inning. You still try to get your at-bats. You still try to hit balls hard, but it's now a 12-1 ball game. It's like a monumental comeback by Atlanta to overcome an 11-run deficit.
David Justice 0 for 2 tonight, up there with a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. Leland was a bit worried before the game tonight about how Wakefield would again deal with the pressure. He was incredibly poised in Game 3 and was throughout his 13 appearances in the regular season. But there's even more pressure tonight in a Game 6 with his team needing a win to stay alive. I thought Tim Wakefield yesterday at the press conference had a comment that was most enlightening about his demeanor. When he was asked about pressure, he said, "Since I was a kid, I've always been taught that no matter what happens, God will love me, my parents will love me, and the sun will come up tomorrow." And he pitches that way.
There are some major league players that try to convince you that they're confident. They try to convince you that they're secure when they're really not. I think Wakefield has convinced himself of those two things.
He says, "Why should I be nervous? I'm a guy who was almost out of baseball 3 years ago. He started in the Pirate organization as a first baseman. He was a first baseman in college at Florida Tech and still holds the school record there for home runs in a career with 40. But he had a very tough time in the rookie league, and the Pirates were on the verge of releasing him when his minor league manager, Woody Heike, saw Wakefield fooling around in the outfield one day and noticed the knuckleball. He said, "Can you throw that consistently?" And Wakefield said, "Yes, I can." Heike said, "Well, show me," and he threw several more good knuckleballs. Justice, a line drive and a base hit. Pendleton to second. First and second with nobody out in the 5th inning. So Woody Heike went into the organizational meetings in spring training and said, "Hey, before we release Wakefield, come on out and take a look at his knuckleball." And then general manager Larry Doty did. Said, "Tim, you're a pitcher." And it's back to rookie league as a pitcher. He's made the climb all the way up to the National League Championship Series in just 3 years.
And he attributes failing as a hitter in 1988 to also his confidence. He said failing early in professional baseball made him realize how important it was to be successful, and that failing hardened him. It toughened him. And he is one tough young man, I'll tell you.
Pendleton at second, Justice at first for Sid Bream. Bream has been on twice tonight. He walked in the second and singled and scored the only Atlanta run in the 4th inning. Pirates leading 12-1 as the Braves bat in the 5th. One ball and 2 strikes. Now Tim Wakefield is flooded with letters from people around the country who want to know how to throw the knuckleball. In shallow center, Van Slyke the catch. The runners can't take the chance. 1 out.
Why don't we let Tim Wakefield explain it himself, how and why he is so tough and so confident.
My maturity, I think, has a lot to do with it. Is the fact that when I signed my contract and spent that first year in '88, I had to learn how to deal with failure for the first time, and had to learn how to face death for the first time. That summer in '88 was very hard for me. My grandfather passed away. I was very close to, and I think I attribute that most to the type of person I am now, because I didn't want my father to pass away like his father passed away, and this gave me just a growing up type thing. I learned how to deal with that.
One and 0 the count on Gant. 1 ball and 1 strike. Gant has struck out and walked. That really does put it all in perspective.
It really does.
Back to the screen, 1-2. And at the play with Berryhill on deck. It's going to be tough for Tim Wakefield to answer those questions about the knuckleball because he really can't explain much about his success. He doesn't know the physics of why it works. He did explain earlier how he throws it, and his grip, as we saw, varies from most of the other pitchers who have thrown the knuckleball. And jarred the mask of slot. Still 1-2. And Jim Leland is convinced because of the success of Wakefield and the attention that he's getting, particularly here in the postseason, that somebody else who's out there in an organization in Major League Baseball right now and who isn't going to make it as a position player is going to try to use the knuckleball and might have the same kind of path to the major leagues that Wakefield did. Gant throws the bat away in disgust as Lean handles the pop-up. 2 down. We're in the bottom of the 5th. The Pirates lead 12-1. They scored 8 runs to take command in the 2nd inning. The Goodyear blimp Stars and Stripes is high overhead tonight. Stars and Stripes is the most recent addition to the fleet, continuing a tradition which started in 1926. And as we look down on Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, already we can see a lot of empty seats around this ballpark, particularly in the upper deck. We had a sellout crowd again when it started. Scalpers were getting more than $100 per ticket outside the ballpark tonight, but as you can see, particularly in the upper reaches, long empty rows. Berryhill, great diving stop by King. He'll go to first to end the inning. The Braves strand 2 more. They've left 9 and will return to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium after this word from your local station.
A young witness is put in Nick's protective custody. Can he protect her life?
Lisa, where are you?
While protecting his own gut secret. Forever Night, tonight.
When Eye on America looked at inner city kids, we found Shaquila, who dreams of being a writer. Her hope inspired you. Since we aired her story, she's been given a scholarship to a writing seminar in Texas. We didn't just look at the streets, we saw the kids who live there. Eye on America, only on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
This is CBS.
Having trouble finding a cab? Why, that could change after the game.
Bobby Cox is probably looking to tomorrow night now. Not that you're going to give away tonight. I mean, you're trailing 12-1, but watch this, what takes place right here between John Smoltz and Bobby Cox. It looked to me like Bobby Cox said, take off. So we assume that John Smoltz go up to Bobby and say, can I go home now? I've got to get my rest for tomorrow night. And Bobby Cox appeared to say, yes, take off. So we think Smoltz is headed home for his start tomorrow night.
It certainly appeared to be what transpired. Jeff King to lead off the 6th inning. Pirates batting with a 12-1 lead. They scored 4 of those runs last inning off Marvin Freeman, who continues on to pitch the 6th. King, McClendon, and Swat coming up. Many fans have departed, but not that young fan. Borderline strike at the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike. King 1 for 3 tonight. He singled and scored in the 2nd. Fouled at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. We said at the start of the series that Jeff King would be a key, and he has been, particularly in the last 2 games. He was 3 for 4 in their win in Game 5. He singled to keep that inning going in inning 2. Singled right after the home run by Bonds. That kept them rolling toward the 8 runs. He's out this time on the fly ball to center. 1 out in the 6th, 12-1 Pittsburgh. And up steps Lloyd McClendon, who is 2 for 2 tonight with 2 singles and a walk. Over his last 7 plate appearances, dating back to Game 5. In Game 5, his last 4 times up, a double, a sacrifice fly, a single, and a single. And tonight, a single, and a walk. So that's 5 hits in his last 5 official at-bats. Bidding for an extra base hit here with Nixon back at the track, and that one is gone. 6 hits in his last 6 official at-bats for Lloyd McClendon. The home run, his first of the league championship series. And it's 13-1.
And once again against a right-handed pitcher. Does that influence Jim Leyland's thinking tomorrow night? If it goes to Game 7 and the Pirates lead by 12.
In terms of a consecutive hit streak in league championship series play, even though McClendon has 6 hits in his last 6 official at-bats, in terms of a streak, it only counts as 5 consecutive hits because a sacrifice fly terminates a consecutive hit streak.
Yeah, a walk doesn't, but a sac fly does.
That's right. So now he has tied the league championship series record for consecutive hits with 5, even though officially he's 6 for his last 6. He's 3 for 3 tonight and 8 for 11 in the series. I don't see how they can keep him on the bench tomorrow night, right-hander or otherwise, on the mound for Atlanta.
So if you folks have been keeping score during this series, put it in pencil for tomorrow night, because it is likely to be different than it has been the first 6 games. Less predictable.
And Don Slott has been a consistent contributor from the right side of the plate. He doubled to drive in 2 runs his first time up tonight and scored in the second. He struck out in the third, walked and scored again last inning. He's 4 for 10. Hit that one sharply, played by Pendleton on a hop. 2 outs. So the Pirates had 2 home runs in the first 5 games. They've hit 3 tonight. Barry Bonds hit the first one. Jay Bell on the left of your screen hit the second. And McClendon with the home run here in the 6th. Chico Lean, 1 for 3 with a 2-run double. He has scored twice. Blauser. Strong throw, gets him. The Pirates add a run on the home run by Lloyd McClendon. And we go to the bottom of the 6th in rapidly emptying Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, 13-1 Pirates.
Things I live for. Weekends, Springsteen, lasagna, and games like Eagles-Redskins, Sunday on CBS. I'm a big fan.
The Pittsburgh Pirates seemingly comfortably on their way to forcing a Game 7. They lead Game 6 13-1 as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. Bobby Cox was very hoarse before the game tonight. He's been fighting off a chest cold, and that might serve him well after the game in the press interviews. He probably won't want to have to say a whole heck of a lot about tonight. Mark Lemke has walked and struck out against the knuckleballs of Tim Wakefield. The pitcher scheduled to follow, but Deion Sanders has grabbed the bat and moved into the on-deck circle to bat for Marvin Freeman. There's Deion. And then Otis Nixon is due. Wakefield, through 5, has allowed 5 hits and 1 run. He has walked 4 and struck out 4. And if Jim Leyland was thinking about the scenario that you proposed, you would think that this is about the time he would do it, if he was going to do it, and that is take Wakefield out for the possibility of using him tomorrow.
And no one is warming up right now, so I would imagine Wakefield will try to pitch the complete game and go for the complete game, or at least into 7 or 8 innings.
Wakefield trying to become the second, and he's well on his way toward it.
Tim Belcher won Game 2 and Game 6 against, make that Game 5 against the Mets that year in 1988.
Leaned, throws Lemke out. And all of a sudden, Mark Lemke has really cooled off in this series. He's 0 for his last 9. As Deion Sanders strides to the plate, let's check in with Jim Gregg.
All right, thank you very much, Sean. Well, Jim Leyland, the manager of the Pirates, got a very unexpected call today. Unexpected probably to Atlanta fans. He went to high school with Jerry Glanville, the coach of the Falcons. They went to Perrysburg, Ohio high school together, and today Glanville called just to wish him good luck, and you got to wonder how it's going to be for Jerry Glanville the next time he shows up at the stadium after wishing good luck against the Braves to the Pirates. Sean?
One of Jerry Glanville's defensive backs at the plate, Deion Sanders, who has appeared twice and struck out twice offensively. He's also seen some time in the field, albeit brief. And he's quickly in the hole here, 0-2. He put it in play for the first time in the series, and Bell guns him down. No, he didn't. John McSherry says Reedus was off the bag, and Sanders is safe. A good throw would have had him, leading one to believe that that would be scored an error on Jay Bell.
A good throw would have had him. Better footwork would have had him, possibly by Gary Reedus. Gary is not, you mentioned earlier that he does the best he can defensively. But that play, that throw, clearly pulled him off the bag regardless of what footwork he used. So it's an error on Jay Bell.
And a one-out base runner for Atlanta in the 6th inning. Pittsburgh leads 13-1. Otis Nixon, 0 for 2 with a walk his last time up. It was interesting in talking with Jim Leland before the game about Jerry Glanville. He remembers him as an outstanding football player. He said he played baseball, but wasn't very good. Slap to short. They have one. They do not have two. Nixon hustled to prevent the double play.
You look at Deion Sanders limping off the field. He broke a bone in his left foot in spring training, and it has not healed. Obviously, it has had no chance to heal. He's been playing baseball for the last 7 months or so, and of course just started football a month and a half ago. How about that? A broken bone in his left foot that has not healed.
Blauser out on the ground ball that ends the inning. We've played 6, 13-1 Pittsburgh. Tim Wakefield leads off as we go to the 7th. The Pirates leading by 2 touchdowns, and that's an appropriate choice of words with Deion Sanders into the ball game in center field. They can run a punt back. They can get right back into this one. And the new pitcher is left-hander Kent Merker. He's the 4th Atlanta pitcher of the night, making just his 2nd appearance in this series. He appeared in Game 5, posting the numbers you saw on your screen. Justice the catch. Wakefield the first out of the 7th. That looked more like a swing that you'd expect to see from a power-hitting first baseman in college.
Went to Florida Tech and had 22 home runs his senior year.
He was the first player ever drafted out of Florida Tech. Reedus 2 for 4 tonight. He has doubled and singled, driven in a run with each hit, and scored twice. Sharply to second, Mark Lemke throws him out. And quickly 2 away in the Pittsburgh 7th. I'd say less than half the seats now are occupied here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium.
Now, you've heard so often that teams would rather lose by a large score than a one-run game. I've always thought that that was a bunch of bunk. I'd rather have a chance to win a ball game and lose a 3-2 game rather than 13-1. I think that is the epitome of rationalization when players make comments like that.
Really, this is 2 games in a row in which the Braves are getting thrashed. 7-1 in Game 5. 13-1 tonight.
And the only game that Atlanta has hammered Pittsburgh was Game 2 when it was 13-5.
Jay Bell already hit by a pitch tonight when spinning out of the way, and Barry Hill on the home plate umpire. Ed Montague dodged the ball. Jay hit the 3-run homer that put the finishing touches on the 8-run Pittsburgh second. Merker follows Marvin Freeman, who pitched 2 innings and allowed 5 runs. As you can see, more empty seats than people. And Jay Bell strikes out. Merker works a 1-2-3-7. Stretch time at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, 13-1 Pirates.
Shopping by catalog can help you beat the Christmas rush, but only if you hurry. What you need to know about mail order before you pick up the phone. Tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
Very few happy fans here in attendance tonight in Atlanta, but those wearing the smiles, the wives of the Pittsburgh Pirates, seated in the section with their yellow pom-poms right behind the home plate screen. Pendleton, an opposite field fly, and the catch made by McClendon in right. Pendleton 2 for 4 now. It really was quite a sight in Pittsburgh with the pom-poms and also the hooks. Just about everybody in the stands at Three Rivers seemed to have them.
Trying to combat the chop here in Atlanta. Chop, and an interesting term for the Pittsburgh hitters tonight.
And I think the crowd that was here at the beginning was ready to go back to that form of a year ago, the constant noise and intensity, but obviously the 8-run inning took them out of the ball game early. Justice 1 for 3, a single in the 5th inning. I thought it was humorous to read an article in the local paper today. Many of the fans here, Justice drills one, forget about it. Way back into the seats and right. David Justice with his first home run in the league championship series, and it's 13-2.
I remember your question to me early in the game of Game 2 when you asked if there's anything that Pittsburgh hitters could salvage with Atlanta leading 13-5, and the same is true here. The answer is yes. Get your stroke down and ready yourself for tomorrow night. Smoltz and Drabek, Game 7.
Jim Leland definitely thought that even though they lost 13-5 in Game 2, the fact that they got some runs did set the tone for Game 3, in which they hit and won. And certainly it's been the Braves' offense. The pitching tonight has been subpar, but the Braves' offense hasn't done anything in the last couple of games either. 1 run in Game 5 off Bob Walk, and now 2 runs tonight. Doug Drabek, unlike his opponent tomorrow night, John Smoltz, has not gone home. He is still here and still charting pitches. Sid Bream bats, and the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bream has walked, singled, and flied to center and scored a run. Uncle Willie.
Kings don't mean a thing on this Street of Dreams.
I can't believe it took to the 7th inning to hear one of your pearls of wisdom.
Little Francis Albert action.
This is not the time to sit on those gems.
You don't save them for a later date. This might be perfectly appropriate.
Lane throws him out. I started to mention, just as Justice so rudely interrupted with the home run, that many of the fans here in Atlanta are blaming the lack of crowd noise on the organist here. Carolyn Kane, saying that she has been playing the Tomahawk Chant song in the wrong key. She insists is wrong. It's the same key in which she played it last year. But like athletes, sometimes even fans have excuses when they're being criticized for not coming through. And they're ready to come through tonight. Gant came through the pitch and pulled it foul, well foul. I'm pretty sure they call him Uncle Willie. And,
that's
yeah, you can see it on the sleeve there, Uncle Willie.
One name that's appropriate.
Which one, Uncle or Willie?
Uncle Willie.
Braves might be just about ready to cry, Uncle, the way this is going. 13-2. Brian Gant now 0 for his last 8. A rare fastball from Wakefield at missed.
One of the famous songs of Sinatra, Street of Dreams. I guess another appropriate song of Sinatra tonight would be Dancing in the Dark, because that's what Wakefield's knuckler has been doing for 6 1/3 innings.
Now you're on a roll. Don't stop. We've got 2 innings to go.
I like Sinatra.
I can tell. And I've heard you attempt a few of his tunes. Read us the catch. Perhaps you'd like to warm up for the last couple of innings. We go to the 8th. 13-2 Pirates.
Toyota proudly presents All-Around Champions. Everyone feels great when they've accomplished something important. And if it's part of the Special Olympics program, then it means even more. St. Louis's Todd Seal gives his time and encouragement to make sure that these disabled youngsters never forget how good it feels to succeed. Toyota is pleased to salute all-around champion Todd Seal by contributing $1,000 to the Missouri Special Olympics.
This game summary is sponsored by Budweiser.
If you're just joining us, the Pirates took command early in the 2nd inning. They scored 8 runs off Tom Glavine, the most runs ever scored off one pitcher in an inning in postseason history. McClendon 3 for 3 tonight, including a home run, and Wakefield has been Tim Wakefield again tonight. He's allowed only 2 runs through 7. The Pirates bat in the 8th, leading 13-2. Andy Van Slyke leading off against Kent Merker. And the count is 1 ball and 1 strike. Steve Avery knocked out after 1/3 of an inning in Game 5. Tom Glavine knocked out after an inning plus here tonight. 1-2 on Van Slyke. Bonds and King to follow. Doug Drabek probably has to be the happiest man in the ballpark tonight, because you know he wanted one more chance to pitch in the series with his subpar performances in games 1 and 4.
You erase both of those performances if you're successful tomorrow night. John Smoltz, Doug Drabek have met twice, and Smoltz has won 2.
Lemke throws him out. Here's Jim Gray.
All right, Sean, I'm here with Al Lamacchia, the Vice President of Baseball for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's here along with 4 other scouts scouting for the World Series, one of these 2 teams. Does it make it tough to scout because now the Pirates have come back and maybe you were preparing for the Braves?
Not really. We felt that either club was could get hot and win the whole thing, and they're still tomorrow night, and I think either club that wins is going to be a good representative of the National League.
What exactly is it that you look for in these 2 teams over these games?
Well, basically what they're hitting, who's hot and who's not, what the pitchers are throwing, and what the opposing pitchers are getting hitters out on, you know, whether they hit and run and things of that nature.
Let me ask you, just as an example, who do you feel matches up better for the Toronto Blue Jays if you guys advance?
Well, really, either club is going to be a good representative for the National League. Like the Pirates are strong in one area, and the Braves in another. The Braves have good starting young pitching. Perhaps the Pirates are a little better defensively. So either club was going to be tough. First of all, we got to get into the American League, and we got our work cut out for us with the Oakland A's.
Who do you feel will win in the 7th game here?
Well, it goes down to Drabek and Smoltz. Considering the way Smoltz has been pitching of late, I would say that the Atlanta Braves has a good shot at it tomorrow night.
Do you feel that the Blue Jays could handle either one of these 2 teams?
I think we've get a good account of ourselves, certainly. We've got some pretty good ball players on our ball club. We've got some good starting pitching, and I'd like to see us get in there and give it a shot.
Okay, Al, thank you very much. Let's go back upstairs to Sean.
Thank you, Jim. Well, Jim was chatting with Al Lamacchia. Barry Bonds was out on a fly ball to right field. Interesting what Bill LaJoy, the Atlanta scout, had to say yesterday. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first we remind you that Game 6 of the ALCS comes your way tomorrow afternoon at 3 Eastern Time. You can join Dick Stockton, Jim Cott, and Leslie Visser with all of the action as Oakland looks to pull even in that series. Oakland and Toronto, Juan Guzman and Mike Moore, 3 o'clock tomorrow on CBS. And we'll hold what Bill LaJoy said over to the next inning as King grounds out and the Pirates go in order. Bottom of the 8th, 13-2, Pittsburgh. Sean McDonough with Tim McCarver and Jim Gray back at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. The crowd starting to resemble a Braves crowd here of years gone by. And they drew very poorly with losing teams. And so this year, they went over the 3 million mark. Many folks left early tonight with the score standing at 13-2 in favor of Pittsburgh. Tim Wakefield facing Javier Lopez, who's up for the first time in the series. He came in defensively in the top of the inning. Lopez, a great prospect. He's only 21 years old. Little pop-up, leaned, tracks it down in shallow center.
This is what that replay looked like from the blimp. It's more like a satellite replay.
Yeah, there he catches it. I see it all the way. After further review, the play stands as called. Mark Lemke, the batter, 0 for 2 with a walk. Lemke 0 for his last 9 after his torrid start in the first 2 games of this series. Van Slyke. Well, both teams going up there now like they're trying to get this one over with. A lot of first ball swinging and a lot of very quick outs. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Deion Sanders up again. He swings with the first pitch and hits a pop-up. Bonds makes the catch in fair territory, and 1-2-3 go the Braves. On to the 9th. Pittsburgh leads by 11. I started to mention earlier what Bill LaJoy, who is scouting the American League Championship Series for Atlanta, had to say yesterday when he was interviewed by Leslie Visser. Leslie asked him which team he felt the Braves matched up better against in the American League Championship Series, and he was quick to respond, Toronto. Did not take the politically safe route and not choose one team or the other. Mark Wohlers on the pitch in the 9th. After 2 perfect innings from Kent Mercker, Wohlers the 5th pitcher of the night for Atlanta. Al Lamacchia was not going to make that kind of statement himself, and that's interesting. I think a lot of people thought Toronto would be the tougher test in the World Series because of the strength of their starting 3 pitchers, Morris, Cone, and Guzman. Gary Varsho is batting for McClendon.
Even though Jack Morris has had 2 bad outings in the ALCS, and David Cone with a bad outing yesterday.
Wohlers throws hard. He's in with a fastball for a strike. Trying to tomahawk the hook. Varsho with a bullet. Gant over to cut it off. Varsho a long turnaround first, and he'll retreat with a leadoff single.
I think it's worthwhile to go back to our opening, and when we talked about the importance of the Braves winning tonight. They trailed by 11, and this is a rather salient thing that has happened over the last decade or so. Try to mix it in between the pitches here.
One of the anything? Anyone would object if you talked over one or two of these pitches?
Well, this is fascinating. Of the last 13 postseason series that have gone to a decisive game, last 13 postseason series, a decisive game, that is a Game 5 in a best-of-5 series or a Game 7 in a best-of-7 series. Of those 13 series, 12 have been won by the team that had won the previous game, or, as in this case tonight, Game 6.
So recent history says the Pirates have a good chance of winning tomorrow night. That's at 8 o'clock, Game 7. John Smoltz will start for the Braves against Doug Drabek. Smoltz has defeated Drabek twice in their matchups in Game 1 and Game 4.
An example of that was last year when Atlanta went to Pittsburgh trailing 3-2. Avery shut out the Pirates 1-0, and then John Smoltz shut out the Pirates 4-0. He has won 4 straight postseason games against Pittsburgh.
Rollers, misses low and away. Full count on Don Slott with Varsho at first, and nobody out in the 9th inning. 13 runs on 13 hits for the Pirates. 2 runs, 7 hits for Atlanta. That's a foul tip into the mid of Lopez for strike 3. Our coverage of Game 7 tomorrow night begins at 8 o'clock with the Baseball 92 pregame show hosted by Pat O'Brien. The first pitch tomorrow night scheduled for 8:26.
Teams trailing 3-1 in the best-of-7 series.
42 of them have trailed 3-1, and only 7 have gone on to win in 7 games. But that's what the Pirates will try to do tomorrow night, become the 8th.
And no team in National League Championship Series has ever come back from a 3-1 deficit. It's been done twice in the American League, back in 1985 when the Royals did it, and 86 when the Red Sox did it.
Against Toronto and California, respectively. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Chico Lean.
Matter of fact, Bobby Cox was the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays in 1985. So he knows that that could happen because it's already happened to his club. And he's facing the possibility of it happening to his Atlanta club tomorrow night.
The 1-2. Breaking ball. Lean called out on strikes. Back-to-back strikeouts for Wohlers here in the 9th after the leadoff single by Varsho. And here comes Tim Wakefield. Certainly deserves that tribute from the few Pirate fans in attendance here tonight. He's on the verge of winning for the 2nd time in the National League Championship Series. Pirates lead 13-2 with 2 down and Varsho at first in the 9th. Braves have the top of their order coming up in the bottom of the 9th. No balls and 2 strikes on Wakefield. Bream knocked it down. It was a 1-hop smash. Wohlers covers. Wakefield hit it hard, but he's out. On to the bottom of the 9th. The Pirates 13, the Braves 2.
Stay calm. Just relax. Take a deep breath. The Knots Landing season premiere in 2 weeks. Wednesdays on CBS. Who can take the heat?
Remember me?
Against the baddest of the bad. While always keeping their cool.
Let me write this down.
Wednesdays after baseball, the Hat Squad.
Our thanks to Captain Maloney and the crew of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes for the overhead shots tonight, courtesy of Goodyear. Last call for the Braves. They need 11 to tie and 12 to win it. Otis Nixon, the scheduled leadoff hitter. Well, he's gotten the hook. And Francisco Cabrera is going to pinch hit. Cabrera with his first appearance in this series. And that's well hit, but Bonds has it on the track for the first out in the bottom of the ninth, and Wakefield, since the home run by Justice, has retired 6 in a row.
Francisco Cabrera, his first appearance in this postseason. You may remember back in 1970 when Pat Corrales was the 25th man on Sparky Anderson's Cincinnati Reds Big Red machine, and Sparky allowed him to pinch hit in the last inning of the World Series, and Pat got his only at bat then. And Sparky really did it as a favor to Pat Corrales.
Jeff Blauser takes a strike 1-1.
I mean, that was the only World Series appearance for Pat Corrales, as a matter of fact.
A pop-up, and Swat has it. The Pittsburgh Pirates now 1 out away from Game 7. And tomorrow at 3 Eastern Time, it's Game 6 of the American League Championship Series from the Sky Dome in Toronto. The Blue Jays and the Athletics. And then at 8 tomorrow night, it begins with Pat O'Brien in the pregame show. Game 7 of the National League Championship Series. For the second straight year, the Pirates and Braves go to the wire. Tomorrow night, John Smoltz and Doug Drabek. Treadway with a line drive foul. Reedus had a chance to end the ball game if he could have squeezed it. But it's ruled foul and a strike on Jeff Treadway. Well, it's hard to believe, Tim, but only 2 pitchers in League Championship Series history have thrown 2 complete games in the same league championship. Only been done twice prior to tonight. Mike Scott in 1986 for Houston against the Mets threw 2 complete games, and Danny Cox in 87 threw 2 for St. Louis against San Francisco. Tim Wakefield is about to become the 3rd. That's toward the gap and in. For a hit, cut off by Bonds, holding Treadway to a long single. And for the moment, the Braves are still alive. That is their 8th hit. With 13 runs tonight, Tim Wakefield's teammates have tied a League Championship Series record for runs in a game. Braves did it in Game 2 in this series. The 81 Yankees, the 84 Cubs each scored 13 runs in an LCS game. David Justice homered his last time up, accounting for one of the 2 runs given up by Wakefield. One ball and 1 strike on Justice. Justice bidding for another. Deep right field. Varsho at the wall. Home run. Second round tripper and as many at bats for David Justice. It's 13-4.
Wakefield gave up only 3 home runs all season, and now 2 home runs in 2 at-bats to David Justice.
Sid Bream at the plate, 1-1 the strike.
All season consisting of 13 starts.
Bream, Wakefield might have gotten a piece of it, and Bell throws him out. Tim Wakefield threw 138 pitches tonight in winning for the second time in 6 games in the National League Championship Series. He's the 3rd pitcher in history to throw 2 complete games in the same League Championship Series. And there will be a Game 7. The final score in Game 6. The Pirates 13 and the Braves 4. We'll be back in just a moment. The final score of tonight's Game 6, the Pirates 13, the Braves 4, setting up Game 7 tomorrow night here on CBS. The Chevrolet player of the game is Pirate knuckleballer Tim Wakefield. He won again for the 2nd time in this series, again going the distance on 9 hits. He allowed 4 runs, 2 of them cosmetic, in the bottom of the 9th. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in Tim Wakefield's name to the Special Olympics. Now let's go down to the field and join Jim Gray. Jim?
Okay, Sean, I'm with Braves manager Bobby Cox. And Bobby, you were the manager of the Blue Jays back in 1985 when you were up 3-1 and lost that series. From that experience, what will you tell your team tomorrow to try and avoid that?
Nothing you can tell them to avoid anything, to be honest with you. We have to go out and play a much better ball game than we pitched tonight. I thought Tommy had good stuff, but he made some pitches he'd like to get back, that's for sure. But we will have a little short meeting probably and discuss something.
You concerned about John Smoltz just pitching now with 3 days rest?
No, not at all. He's a horse, and look for him to pitch a good ball game. He should. He hasn't pitched any long pitch counts yet.
Okay, Bobby, we look forward to tomorrow night. We'll return right here to Fulton County Stadium after this.
Now for Tim McCarver and Jim Gray, I'm Sean McDonough saying so long from Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, where the final score is Pittsburgh 13 and Atlanta 4. Join CBS Sports tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for Game 6 of the American League Championship Series between Oakland and Toronto. Then at 8 p.m. Eastern, it's Baseball 92, followed by Game 7 of the National League Championship Series. You have been watching Major League Baseball on CBS Sports, home of the 1992 World Series. Tonight, Barry Bonds' home run got the Bucks off and running on their way to a record-setting night. Under a nearly full moon, they scored 13 runs on the 13th day of the month. And Tim Wakefield's knuckleball has the Pirates dancing to Game 7. We'll see you tomorrow night from Atlanta.